Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. We are here for what is a rare occurrence on the channel, an actual book haul where I have bought books. So I wanted to start right here. Stephen King. There is a Stephen King included, but Michael Crichton, Jurassic Park. When I was a kid, Michael Crichton and Stephen King were sort of hand in hand as the two preeminent authors of the day, at least as far as popular fiction is concerned. Michael Crichton was my first love as a reader. I read Sphere, The 13th Warrior, Jurassic Park, and I believe one other book in middle school and was just taken aback by them. I really enjoyed the hard science fiction type of deal to them. A lot of I keep doing it. A lot of Michael Crichton books start with what is basically either a press release over something that has happened in the scientific world or something like that. And it's written in such a way that it's so believable that you would not think that it was fiction. And in fact, when I was a kid, I couldn't tell what parts were science fiction and what parts weren't. And he does a really good job of blending real world knowledge with the science fiction stuff. So Jurassic Park at some point, I imagine, is going to have a series on the channel. Sphere would be my first choice if I were to go down the Michael Crichton sort of rabbit hole. So Sphere is a book that takes time travel and sort of spirituality / religiosity and mashes them together with obviously with Jurassic Park, it's cloning and the chaos theory that kind of get mashed together. And that's kind of how, from my recollection, from all of the Michael Crichton that I've read, kind of how Michael Crichton operates as an author, taking two disparate elements that you would not necessarily imagine together and puts them together in that way, making them into a novel that... So you're not reading Michael Crichton to get deeper into the human soul. There's some of that there if you're willing to search for it, but really Michael Crichton is to sort of explore the ideas in the science fiction itself. There are interviews with Michael Crichton on YouTube that were absolutely priceless for me as a young writer. Hearing the way that he went through things was just absolutely worth listening to if you are a writer or if you do enjoy Michael Crichton's books themselves. Now, since I could not get Stephen King out of my brain, I figured I would introduce this one next. Christine. I know basically nothing about Christine other than it was written, I think, in 82 or 83. So right sort of at the beginning of the great Stephen King run, there were a number of years where Stephen King was publishing 2-3 novels at a time, and it just... That's how he built the empire that is Stephen King today. By the way, do you know anyone who has read anything published by Stephen King after 1990? So everything, in my opinion, that he did that was of import as a writer was done in that decade of the 80s, and maybe, well, we just finished Carrie here on the channel, the third part of a 3-part read-along series. There is a book review for Carrie coming very soon, I think. And starting in 74, when he published Carrie, he was a writer that was searching, I think, to make horror not just accessible to average people, but to make it understandable and the characters understandable. I think he had a lot going for him as a writer in those early days. I think that there was quite a bit to appreciate about Stephen King, and I don't say any of this to disparage him. It's just I don't know what he's done since like 1989. I've read a couple of them on the channel here, Holly and Fairy Tale, and I did not see the same writer in those books that was present in It, that was present in The Shining, that was present in Carrie for sure, and I would go so far as to say was present in, pardon me, Danse Macabre. Danse Macabre, I think, is an exquisite exploration of the horror genre, and I don't see any hints of that Stephen King alive in these more recent writings. Moving on. The Epic of Gilgamesh. Something that I have to get to at some point in time. There is a personal project that makes me want to read this. I do think a lot about the hero's journey. I do think a lot about hero building, about what a protagonist is. I do think a lot about those things as far as being a writer is concerned. And I think that to get to the bottom of that, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. And the beginning of that might be, as far as we can tell, the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is an ancient text, and one that I don't know terribly much about other than actual, not retellings, but sort of summaries of the text. So I think that it is sort of on me to get into this text and make my way through it. It is, from what I understand, very dense, and it takes a little bit of research outside of the text to be able to understand on its own. So hopefully getting there sometime in the next couple of years. The next thing I think I should introduce goes back to an author that I have featured on this channel before, and not in the most complimentary way, but this is a book that I would like to make a series on because I have heard such good things about it. Cormac McCarthy, No Country for Old Men. I have one experience with Cormac McCarthy, that is The Road. I hated The Road. I could not stand The Road. But people keep telling me that Cormac McCarthy is worth the read, that Cormac McCarthy is the best novelist that we have had in a while, maybe the last great American novelist. I contend that Bret Easton Ellis would be the greatest novelist of our day if only he would continue to write books. He does not. He refuses to be an author, but Cormac McCarthy, I guess, is the next guy up, so I am willing to give him a fair shake at being an author to win my heart, so long as this book is different than The Road. The Road is one of those books I could not stand. Everything was gray. And then if you looked to the left, well, there was gray there too. And to the right, gray. You want to look up, gray. You want to see your feet, look down. Nope, it's gray. I think that was a pretentious book. I'm willing to accept the fact that perhaps he is not pretentious all the time. But that book really got my goat. And the final book, the last one here, William Faulkner, The Collected Stories. This has all of his short stories and I think a couple of novels in it. This is one that I am going to be going through story by story. I am going to start a William Faulkner read-along series here on the channel, the same way that I have finished a Dubliners read-along series, the same way that I am about to finish a 10th of December by George Saunders read-along series, the way that I am going through short story by short story Ernest Hemingway for a series. William Faulkner is definitely in that list, that group of authors that I want to dedicate an entire run to on the channel. And actually, let me tell you, by Shirley Jackson, we are starting this month as well. William Faulkner is an author that is difficult to love. Really difficult, in my opinion, to love. An author that makes you work for things, an author that makes you try, an author that makes you remember things, and is worth it. William Faulkner's work, There are a couple series on the channel. As I Lay Dying for one, and is it The Sound and the Fury that I did? I can't remember. I did another one of his books about 4 years ago, and there is a read-along series for that on the channel as well. And this is the short story collection, so we will have to go through this one by one as well. But yeah, those are the 5 books that I got recently that I wanted to outline on a book haul video here on the channel. And yeah, hopefully there will be series for all of these books at some point on the channel.